Hi, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Crushing Land. So happy to be here with you today as we discuss another relevant land investing topic that is on a lot of people's minds. And this actually came up, this topic, because it's something that we haven't addressed before in any episodes of Crushing Land. I don't think we've even done short videos on it or anything like that. And it's something that was asked in the group. And I know that it comes up quite often. It came up in one of our group coaching calls a few weeks ago. It came up, as I said, somebody posted it in our group about this. It's come up a few different times, and so we decided to discuss it here on Crushing Land for all of your benefit. And that is the subject of timber on property, valuing timber, figuring out a formula for what timber is worth, all of that. So the question was asked, it is asked all the time, is how do you determine the value of timber? What's the quick formula to use? To look at, I've got this many acres or whatever it is. How do I figure out the value of the timber on there? Well, probably not the answer that most people want to hear, but the truth is that there is no quick formula. There's no quick formula to be able to determine the value of timber on the property. There's so many different variables that go into what makes the timber worth it. What kind of wood is it is a big one, right? How much is there? How much can be harvested? Not every state, not every area allows you to take every piece. Sometimes you have to leave quite a bit, things like that. What's the size of the wood that's there? A lot of different variables. I'm not going to keep going into all of them, but a lot of different things affect how much, that wood, that timber is that's there. And so, and I'll give you some examples on that. I've had properties that we've looked at. I think we had one that was like 17 acres and it was full of it. And we basically had it looked at and we found out, I mean, it was just packed. But basically, when we talked to them, it was like, there's no real useful timber here. There's only a few trees, handful of trees that will be worth anything. It's basically just what they call pulpwood. So pulpwood is what they use to make paper and things like that. So really no value. So they were saying there's really no value to it here. Now, conversely, I know people that have had properties that are rather small and they have large trees on it and they're very nice hardwood. We've had actually some people in our family that have that where they've gone out and they've sold them for tens of thousands of dollars based on the type of timber that was on there, even though it was rather small amount of it because of the type of the wood. So there's so many different variables that come into play, supply and demand as well, a lot of different things. So people will sit there and then they say, well, how do you know? Do you sit on it longer? What do you decide to do? And really the answer is that you need to get what's called a timber cruise done. So you may say, what's a timber cruise? Well, in this case, you're actually hiring somebody from the Forestry Service. You're hiring a registered licensed forester to come out and do what's called a timber cruise on the property. They're going to look at the property. They're going to look at the type of wood. They're going to look at all of the different things. They're going to look at exactly how much can be harvested. They're going to know all of that stuff that we talked about and more. They're going to look at all of that, and then they're going to be able to give you a price for what that timber is worth. Based on that, you can then decide if it's worth moving forward or not. Now, the thing to remember is just because they give you that price doesn't mean that's the price that you're going to get, because you need to have a logger come out and actually remove those trees now, right? They're going to get marked as to which ones stay, which ones go, things like that. So that's all going to be done. And so the logger is going to get a part of that. There's going to be a split that's done with that. There's somebody that I know locally in my area that does. It's a friend of mine. That's actually what he does for a living. And he basically was just showing me a couple of the properties that he did recently. And in his case, it was a 60-40 split. The owner kept 60% of selling the timber, so the profits that they got, and he got 40% for doing the job. So just, they tell you that there's $50,000 worth of timber, for example. Well, in that case, you would have got $30,000 for having them do the job, not the full $50,000. And of course, that varies, by areas and types and all of that too. So when it comes down to timber, when it comes down to does it make sense? Some people sit there and they just assume because I just got a lot that's 50 acres, it's got to be loaded with that. Not necessarily, right? And conversely, you may get a smaller lot that's only a few acres and you say it may not be worth it. And again, not necessarily. There's really no guarantee one way or the other. And so what you need to do is you need to hire somebody to go out. Now, the nice thing about it is having a timber cruise done, having a forester go down, it's very cheap. It doesn't cost much to do this. You just have some, hire a licensed forester to go down and actually do this work, get you the information, all that, and then you can go from there. The other thing that's nice is oftentimes they have people that they will put you in contact with that will go out and actually, remove it. So they actually have their contacts and things like that that they'll put you in contact with to make sure that you're actually working with somebody reputable and all of that. So have we done remove timber from property? Yes. Is it always worth it? No. And do your assumptions come true all that often? You know what? Not for me. So, I mean, honestly, I just to be truthful, I mean, I've had properties that I've looked at, and you look at like the pictures that were taken and the size of the property, and I sat there and I'm like, man, I'm sitting on, a boatload of timber value, and in reality, it was nothing. And then conversely, like I said, they're smaller lots that our family has had. And it's like, well, there's probably not a whole lot of value there. And there was. So the best bet is, again, to work with professionals, reach out. They're not hard to find, right? Somebody that works in that area, somebody that's licensed, let them go out, let them do the timber cruise on the property, let them figure out what the value is, and then you decide from there if you're going to move forward. So again, something that does come up and something that, you can look at. In some cases, obviously, it doesn't make any sense. You just know there's not a whole lot of value. But if it's in an area where, there is the potential for that, and you're looking at it, you're thinking there's some, good hardwood and things like that there, then having somebody go out and look at that is obviously, something that can be beneficial for you. The other time that it's beneficial is obviously if you're looking at advanced strategies, because maybe you want to subdivide a property or something like that, and you want to get it cleared a little bit. So sometimes you can look at a property and you can be like, okay, I'm buying this property that's this size. And basically you can, hopefully if there's some timber on it, you may be able to have it done and get a lot of your money back in there. And now basically as you're subdividing it, you're making the lots more appealing to an end buyer because they're more cleared, and you're also getting more money back in your pocket to be able to kind of balance all of that out. So it might not just be for the sake of removing things, right? Conversely, you also have to look at it from the perspective of, man, I've got this acreage that's sitting here and it's treed, and you go out and strip it and you sell all the timber and you might make something, but now you've got a piece of bare land with a bunch of stumps that not a whole lot of people are going to want. So you've got to weigh out all the pros and cons when you're thinking about having that done. Obviously, that comes down to, what the price of the property is, what the price of the timber you can get, and then of course, after what you can sell it for or what you're going to be doing with the property. So I'm not going to go into a whole lot of details on all of that, today. That's a more of a case by case scenario, but it just gives you a nice overview of what's involved in having timber cleared from a property, whether or not it's worth looking at, and all of those things. So hope you guys enjoyed that. We'll catch you next time on Crushing Land.